Yep.
How are you doing today?
Well, I still have this call from when the World Trade Center came down.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I guess I'm doing okay.
Remind me that I'm going to hook you up when we get off the line with my people with Holistic Heights. And I'm going to shoot you the information, holisticheights.com, and I'm going to shoot you all the information that you need to actually get that taken care of. So, man, thanks for being a guest. It was a journey to catch up with you. I tell you that, but I was persistent enough, and I thank you for accepting today's invitation.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can, just give us some background to the people who may not know. All week I've just been advertising. Preston Nichols is one who came and was a part of what we know as the Philadelphia experiment. And I know in the Philadelphia experiment there was a time loop that was opened up. So if you can, just give us a thought on your background and your history with working with the Philadelphia. You know, being on, I don't know if you was actually on the USS Eldridge or whatnot, but just your working background
No,
and how
I
you
wasn't. I was out of the project that was done on the very tip of Long Island that's become known as the Montauk-Project, which started life as developing the stealth technology. And from that led to research in electromagnetic mind control using, like radio signals, and eventually evolved into time travel and experimentations with time. My background is electronics. I've been in electronics my whole life. I'm an electrical engineer. I have, degrees in physics. And my latest specialty became quantum electronics. And I've also been heavily involved in rock music. And I've been heavily involved in metaphysical research as how it parallels over the quantum physics. And since when I turned 60, I basically retired, and now I'm pursuing the metaphysical, the spiritual field, being Native American, having the Grand Thunderbird rest on my property, which I can prove with photographs of 1.5 by 2 foot footprints. I've gone into metaphysical shamanism and researching how the mind works, and presently is researching how to basically reverse aging. That's what I'm looking for. And also how to handle the possible trials and tribulations that are coming. I'm referring to all this 2012 stuff, which has a basis in emanations from the center of the galaxy hitting the backside of our sun, which could be causing sun problems for about 2012, and I'm picking up on the metaphysical level some big event coming in around 2020. So that, in a nutshell, is what my life is about.
Wow, that's a lot. I'm going to take a note, and I'm going to get to that. What were you doing? Say it again?
I was just trying to get my dog back in here.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. What was Preston Nichols doing, or what was the first initial experience that raised the alarm for you to start to investigate this while you was working? What was that shock of initiation?
I guess the shock of initiation is when I discovered things that did not fit in with my life, such as people coming up to me at electronic swap meets and saying, "Hey, don't you remember me?" "No, I don't remember you." "Well, we worked together at Montauk Point." I said, "Huh?" I'd always worked in Deer Park, Farmingdale, never at Montauk Point. And I found out I had a secret life when I found a badge with my name and the contractor that I was working for at the time, and I wasn't aware of why I had that badge. See, at this time, the idea for security was to have your people not remember when you left the job that is under high security.
Mm-hmm.
And it even ended up where my cousin married this guy who was in the Air Force, stationed at Montauk Point, and he told the whole family, I'm his boss out at Montauk. I was his boss on the Montauk Air Force Station. And everyone thought the guy was nuts. But finally, when I broke the memory blocks, I remembered him and I remembered the other people, and all of a sudden I remember the whole parallel life that I was leading at the time.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I was beginning to, this was like 1989, I was beginning to think I was totally crackers.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember doing my engineering job for the contractor that I was working for. And at the same time, I remember being out of Montauk Point working on that big old radar transmitter they had out there, and all sorts of stuff I'd only sketchily remembered at that point.
Right.
And my first question is, hey, Preston, are you crazy? What the heck is going on here?
Wow. And get my listeners caught up. What Preston is saying is, because I'm a little slow, but I'm just going to reiterate it. Preston is saying he's actually working at a Montauk, which is in Long Island, and people, or even a family member, is saying you are his boss. And other people are coming up to you and saying that basically you are serving in a capacity which you had no knowledge of that you were serving, correct? Right, at the time.
Yeah.
Now, how does that work? You are existing with, let's just say, on a different time track, a different time parallel. Now, is it physically you, or is it a clone you, or are you operating, are you in two places at one time? I mean, what is actually taking place?
It seems to me to be, it is me physically, because I would end up with injuries that I had no knowledge of having, so something would happen in this alternative work that I was doing, and it would carry over to my conscious work, as I would call it. And it looked like to me, since there was some sort of screwball time travel capacity at that point that I got involved with, that I was probably working on two different timelines on two different projects. This is why I was questioning my own sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to figure out, okay, I got two memory recollections. Which one is real? Many times I sit here and wonder, am I what I'm sitting here talking to this gentleman in Canada, watching my backyard on a TV monitor with my half-brother running stuff in and out to the house he's using here? Is this real? Or is this a dream?
Right.
You've been through what I've been through. You wonder what's real and what isn't real.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I am still trying to figure it out. So would you say that, let's just say, what do you think, were you like a remote control and they were actually controlling you, and you was like, or it happens when you sleep, but you went to sleep, but in all reality, that's when they, let's just say, for lack of a better word, flip the switch to have you working on this different, in this different reality?
Who knows? I don't know for sure, even to this day. All I know is at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I might be working in Deer Park, New York, sitting at a cafeteria table at the plant, and at the same time, I'm sitting at a table at Montauk Point having lunch out there, too. And it's, hey, what goes on? My mother used to say that she'd call the plant and be told I'm out, and then I'd come home and she would mention it, and I didn't have any recollection of being out of the plant. this is what makes me think at that time that I live in the twilight zone. Or maybe this is the outer limits. But there's been enough soft evidence, people talking to me that they remember me from the project, and that people I knew worked out of Montauk Point, like my cousin's husband, saying I was out there. So at that point, I really cannot doubt that I've been out of Montauk Point. And at the same time, doing stuff in the central part of Suffolk County in Deer Park. Now you can understand why I was questioning my own sanity.
Right. Now, as a student of metaphysics and dealing with quantum physics, what is the best description that you can give it to give Preston Nichols his own sanity? How do you personally describe it? Because to me, it seems like I would just say, well, damn, if you don't have a clone, it seems like a switch is going off. Or I'm going to say beyond that, it just seems as if we can exist in more than one place at one time. But what's the best description as a student of metaphysics and dealing with quantum physics, the best way that you describe it to your personal self so you can cope with it?
I just have to basically accept the reality that not a million Frenchmen are not wrong. And as far as time goes, we really don't know exactly what time is. There's a lot of theory in quantum physics that's saying all time exists at the same time. That time can be considered another dimension, like another section of real estate. And all of us involved, we're not saying that time travel is not possible. We're saying time travel is possible, whether or not we had the subtleties to actually do it. Of course, the Montauk-Project, I consider that to, be like killing flies with a sledgehammer. Because the idea there was pump enough power into a small space. Space and time has to warp. And you could have teleportation, you could have time travel if you take, enough energy in a small space and you control what it's doing. You can literally warp space and time. I could go into a mathematics dissertation, but don't have a blackboard I can use. This all is representable through mathematics and physics today. It's out there, folks. Time travel is possible, as well as spatial travel. It's possible to project yourself through space and time and move millions of light years in a second. Not in this reality, but if you start considering that there are thousands and thousands of parallel realities with different laws of physics, it's highly possible that you can travel in time and you can be in two places at once.
Absolutely. Let's backtrack a bit, Preston, on the Philadelphia experiment. If I'm not mistaken, it was said two things. A, the USS Eldridge disappeared from the South Philly Naval Yard and ended up in Virginia. And then B, the second thing is from there, time loops were opened up from like 43 to 83 when it was going 40 years or even more into the future.
Yes, this is true. See, you make one time loop. You make one vortex, one tunnel, so to speak, from 1943 to 1983. That's over a 40-year period. You can use this tunnel to project to other spaces in time, other places in space and time.
Now, I would assume, and I'm only assuming by just me studying you and dealing with quantum physics, that you're pretty knowledgeable in mathematics. How is, and definitely with radio, obviously, how is something like that actually done? You're creating a portal to travel. What's the basis? What's the basis of that?
Well, there's a branch of mathematics called spinners and twisters.
Spinners and twisters.
What that says is if you take a frequency pattern and you twist it into a circle first, and then spin it into like a drink can into a cylinder, that you can literally open, you can spin, you can twist into other parallel space and times, other points.
And what was the, if you can elaborate on that, dealing with the whole USS Eldridge disappearing? From what I understand, it was stealth technology. Some people say car alarms. Are you aware of the technology that was actually used? And can you talk a little bit about what actually happened when the ship materialized and it came back?
What they were trying to do, they were trying to take the ship and enclose it like an electromagnetic bottle or a cylinder of electromagnetic energy, and literally shift it out of reality very slightly so that it wouldn't be physical enough for radio waves, radar waves to bounce off of it, to be a reflective surface. The idea originally was radar invisibility. The idea was to hide the ship, airplane, boat, whatever, in an electromagnetic field, where when the signal hits the field, it literally goes through it, through generating a spinner, and goes around the edge of the surface and continues on. But in order to do this, they literally had to generate like a wormhole in our reality that the ship, the Eldridge, was sit in and be hidden. And because of metaphysical witnessing effects, there was a similar project being done at Montauk Point, which used a particle accelerator and created a spinner of the same type of thing out of taking packets of very high-powered electrical energy and spinning it in a circle and spiraling it down when it all crashed in the center. It made another, like a pocket in reality, and because of the witnessing effect, the two pockets connected and you got a wormhole from Philadelphia in 1943 to Montauk Point in 1983.
And how do...
That's the best I can do without going into a lot of math and a lot of physics.
Right.
I just explained.
Now, how do you know, how will one know it's 1983?
Because we actually saw the vortex open and these two guys came out of it.
Give me, because I'm Go ahead.
And they ended up outside on the ground on the base.
So Preston Nichols is working on the base, and you actually see, like it's a cartoon, this energy field comes and opens up and people walk out of it. Now, is Preston Nichols in 1983 in this physical reality as we know it, or are you in 40?
Or am I in what?
When are you in 1943 you yourself when they open up and they say?
Hey, I wasn't in 1943. I was in the 83 end.
All right, so it's 83 in our physical reality.
Yes.
But time portal opens up. They're saying they're from 43.
That's what they said.
But to your recollection, it's definitely 1983.
Yeah.
Well, we perceive 1983 to be.
Okay.
All right. Now, can you give me the? Because I just love the visual aspect of it. Like you're outside at a base and this hole opens up and two people literally just appear out of a portal?
No, they appeared. They didn't disappear.
Mm-hmm. Right, they
From
appeared. Right.
From what I've been told by the two guys that showed up, they basically jumped off the ship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Eldridge back in '43.
Mm.
And they went through what looked like a tunnel, very similar to what's shown in science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that tunnel effect that you would see in travel in science fiction, like on the TV show, the Stargate series.
Right.
That
Mm-hmm.
tunnel, from what I'm told, is pretty real. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's patterned after, you know, reality, because that's just what it looks like. And these guys jumped off the ship in August 12th of 1943, went through like this quantum tunnel, this wormhole, and appeared at Montauk Point in 1983.
Mm.
I have done the time travel myself a few times from Montauk, and I do recall the tunnel effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the most scary thing you'd ever want to go through.
Right, right.
Because it's like you're... Huh?
Explain that. Is it like you getting on a roller coaster or something?
It's like you're falling.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going through like a hose, I guess, a ribbed hose. And in what I did, it looked like we were falling to a point. And it was like you died, went through this point, and then you were recreated and came out the other end. So it's the most scary thing I can ever think of.
Mm. And if you don't mind me asking, what year is this what year is this reality when you actually went through a time hole?
Far as I could figure, it was 1981, 82. I made a few trips from Montauk Point.
And what's the
equipment?
And what's the destination?
Well, there was one destination. In 1995, we had forest fires on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this questionable forest fire business. I think it was 95. And I was watching the local news channel, and they show this group of guys, and I realized I know all those guys, and that big heavy guy, that's me.
Mm.
Except that I'm much younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like 10, 15 years younger. And I showed that to people that knew me, and, you know, and like my father said, yeah, that's you. That's you about 12 years ago, he said.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other people that knew me said the same thing, and I had to resolve that. And that's when I realized I had time traveled myself.
Mm.
Exactly what I was doing in that mission out to the forest fires out in the Yaphank of Long Island, I still haven't fully recalled.
Wow. Now, I heard you mention the equipment. Are you hooked up to some physical equipment, and this is more or less like a mind/soul travel in your physical body, let's just say here in this reality, but the mind is actually taken somewhere else to the future? Is that how that works? Or
Yeah,
is it physical?
this whole thing is, this travel is on the physical.
Hmm.
You travel with your existing body. I'm aware of mind travel. I do it quite a bit. But this appeared to be fully physical.
Hmm. Hmm. And that prompts me to the next question of dealing with the fact that these are, let's just say, government programs. Is it possible that obviously the government can utilize technology and time travel in the future to take a look at the consciousness or the reality of its nation?
Sure.
because you yourself have experienced this time travel. What would you say the difference? Well, obviously the physical body and whatnot. But in detail a little bit more, what is the difference between mind travel and the physical travel you experience? You're just more.
Say again, sir. Say again. Your voice is breaking up.
What's the difference between the mind travel and the physical travel that you actually experience?
Okay, the mind travel, your body stays at one point, and your mind goes out of body, leaves body, astral projection possibly, and you go to a different point in space and time and view.
Mm-hmm.
Physical time travel, you're in your body goes into this, like a tunnel between point A and point B in space and time, and you physically travel with your body from point A to point B. That's essentially what it is. Remote viewing is a form of mind travel.
Correct, right. Would you be able to share with us, since you say you mind travel quite often, any techniques that you have found productive and that would guarantee results?
Well, I basically do my vision questing or meditation with sound, music.
Mm-hmm.
And I have very specialized sound equipment. I'm sure you're aware of the musicians love vacuum tube audio equipment. I'm sure you've heard that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know what that is all about, and I've taken vacuum tube sound equipment and optimized the quantum effects. So literally, like my mind fields, my mind can go out of body and literally travel through the equipment to wherever I want to go. That's the technique I use.
Right.
And of course, it's fairly well known at this point in time, in life, that the mind can go out of body and you can go on mental trips.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all based upon LSD.
Mm-hmm.
You can consciously meditate and travel in space and time with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been proven because there's really no way to show you really did it, but I've been involved in research where you would go remote view something and then you'd go check and see what you viewed, is it accurate? And yes, it can be dead accurate.
Right. Wow.
This is why the U.S. government spent almost $1 billion on, on remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did enough research in the beginning to prove that, yes, the information that's gathered by remote viewing can be accurate.
Right.
So yes, it's pretty much proven that it is possible for the non-physical mind to disconnect itself from the physical body and go places.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanism is pretty much the same if you want to open up a vortex or a wormhole or like a tunnel that your physical body can go through. Generally, it takes fairly high technology to do it, but there are claims out there that people can physically time travel just upon their concentration. It's never been proven, because to my knowledge, no one has ever disappeared at point A and reappeared at point B, although the claims are there, but I've never been able to get any degree of reliability on those claims.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Wow.
I'm not going to say it's impossible.
Right.
Because I know it's possible. It's not probable at this point in our development, but it is possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because at the MONTAUK-PROJEC, all the machine was a mind amplifier. That's all the equipment is. And basically basically, we had an input chair, and in the book is talked of as a Montauk chair, that a psychic adept would sit in this chair, sort of lay like in a lounging position, go into a trance, concentrate his whole mind on one thing. The equipment would pick the thought or the frequency transform that represents the thought out of the person in the chair, align it, and then amplify it to the point and transmit it. And this equipment would be able to transmit whatever the person in the input chair is thinking of. Means that the person sitting in the chair had the capability of literally creating an object based upon what, fully envisioning this object in his mind. The technology had the capability of actually forming that object. If the person in the chair had the capability of time traveling, this thing turned into a time machine.
Now, is this likened to the chair that I seen you spinning on one time on YouTube?
You were breaking up again. Say again?
It's a chair that I saw in the video of you spinning around in. Is that the same chair we're talking about?
No.
Okay.
That was somebody's idea to try to show what the Montauk chair was like.
Mm-hmm.
That was done with special effects.
Okay. All right. Now, backtracking a bit, you started off and you was tracing your lineage to the Native American tribe. If you don't mind telling the audience, what tribe is that in particular that you're tracing your lineage to?
Well, I was born on Long Island,
Mm-hmm.
which means I would be considered something like a Saginaw Indian, but we're part of the Mohawk Nation. So basically, I would be considered a Mohawk.
All right. And and it's interesting because when you mention this Thunderbird, of course I'm dealing with the Native American heritage as well, and I've been to some sites in North America that actually dealt with a priesthood dealing with this Thunderbird, and as me and some of the family who also who have lineage out of Long Island with the Shinnecock, we're visiting this place, and this place is lightning and thundering like crazy, and something very monumental actually happened as we was leaving that particular site dealing with lightning. Can you expound a little bit about the Thunderbird? Because when I say is after we left the site and I started doing research on the site, it had talked about this Thunderbird priesthood who was to actually come and who could make it, basically they can channel the lightning with. So can you talk a little bit about this Thunderbird that you have in the front yard?
Well, let's say how I saw it. I had just moved up to Cairo, New York. They say Cairo up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was living in the one-story house, and it had snowed. I went outside, and I saw these huge bird tracks. And I had went down to the local drugstore and bought a disposable camera, and I took pictures of them. And at that point, I was trying to figure out, okay, I got this bird track. That's 1.5 feet by 2 foot. That's the biggest bird track I've ever seen. I went to the local farm bureau, the Cornell University Extension Farm Bureau in town here, showed the guy the pictures, and I had put a lid to a tote, which is 2 foot by 1.5 feet, right next to the track. It was the same size as the lid, and the fellow said, "My God, he's never seen tracks that big." Mm-hmm. And he estimated that the bird probably had about a 50-foot wingspan and stood about 20 foot tall. Then I went to some of the meetings, tribal meetings up here, and started to show the pictures around. I ended up with these two guys. They must have been in their 80s. They were tribal elders, and they said, "That's the great Thunderbird." And then one of them points right at me and says, "You're a shaman." And I had known some of what it is, what shamanism is. But the one guy said, hey, if the Grand Thunderbird is landing on your property, it only lands on the property of a shaman. So, okay. So, I'm a shaman in training. I'm sure you can figure what that spells out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my next question is, okay, I'm a shaman in training. Where do I go for shaman training? And the other shaman I was talking with says, there is no training. It's whatever you feel you do in your heart. Very metaphysical.
Right.
What I found out, there's really no training for shamanism. It's whatever you feel you can do. Now, the purpose of a shaman is like a priest, I guess. We're supposed to help people with their metaphysical things. We're supposed to be able to go in and retrieve souls and, go on vision quests. Of course, anyone can go on a vision quest. Some of the shamanism is based upon using natural drugs. I'm considered to be a technical musical shaman, where my shamanism capabilities is enhanced by technology. I'm basically a new breed of shaman.
That's right.
And I am having quite a bit of success.
And you said that makes me think of, been talking about this topic for a while, the planet Uranus enters Aries in March, and for 7 years, new things coming to the forefront, pioneering new stuff, new technology, all kind of new things. Let me ask you this, Preston. Given that Peter Moon wrote the book and dealing with the whole Montauk, and dealing with the Montauk Indians, dealing with the surname of...
Yeah, that was the third book. Yes, that was the third book.
Okay. And now dealing with the connection of the Montauk Indians and how they were stripped from the land because they were technically declared they had too much black in their blood.
They were declared extinct.
Right, declared extinct, exactly.
Yeah.
What is the vibe? What is the feel? What is the level of openness that the Mohawk tribe that you're part of? What is the relations with so-called blacks or even Moors? Because I know how Peter Moon connected the Moors to the Montauk. Is there a connection there dealing with the Mohawks and the Moors?
Yes and no. Mankind has become so wrapped up in each other. You can't say there's pure Indian blood out there. You can't say there's pure European blood. You can't say that there's pure black African blood. You can't say there's pure Moorish blood. It's all mixed up. We're people. We're not, I'm not a Englishman. I don't know what your background is, sir, but you're not fully whatever, you look like.
Absolutely.
Mankind on this planet is an intermix of many different genetic strains. So I wouldn't know how to respond to that.
Well, let me ask you this. If there was our own shamans, our own priesthood that say, you know what, let's go visit Brother Preston and let's go visit the Mohawks and the powwow and let's just come together and have that, literally a powwow. Is the vibe open for that type of setting?
It probably is. Again, it depends upon the individuals you're talking to and the individuals you're dealing with. Like, let me ask you, is there any such thing as a normal human being? Of course not.
Yeah, well, I'm an Aquarius, so I'm not. I damn sure going to say no. Absolutely.
I'm not normal. I don't think there's a normal person on this freaking planet.
Absolutely. Let me see here. We've got 15 minutes left.
You can't take a group of people and essentially pigeonhole it like that. There are so many variables involved in any of these dynamics we're talking of that as far as going to human dynamics, it's totally unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
Got to try and see.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know whether or not the Mohawks will accept the idea of, being Moorish, go ask them.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
What they'll say, I don't know. No one you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're dealing with a very, very complex dynamic here.
Mm-hmm.
That's so dynamic you can't model it. It means you can't really make any predictions based upon a dynamic you can't model.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm talking engineering-wise.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of engineering is to take physics, reduce it to a model, be able to predict based upon that model what some particular concept or technology is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the dynamic that you based your model on, you do not have enough information to actually do a quantitative prediction, you're not going to be able to model anything.
Right. Right.
Mankind is the most complex dynamic you're going to find, which means as far as human factors go, we can't model anything.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I think this whole idea of psychology and, this whole psychological idea, I think it's ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
When I was going to psych school to be a psychiatrist, after the second year, I went to my professor that was my advisor and said, hey, look, you're now trying to analyze the mind of man based purely on mathematics and statistics. The mind of man is so complex, you're not going to be able to model this on statistics. That's when I left the psychology field and went into science and electronics. Originally, I was going to be a psychiatrist with a electronics hobby. Now I'm a professional electronics with a psychiatric hobby. And to be honest with you, being that I look at the mind of man as a quantum function, quantum physics is beginning to generate a model of mankind that we can predict. But we're nowhere near making any solid predictions.
Indeed.
So you ask me these humanistic questions, I can't answer them. I don't know.
Right.
I don't have enough information to make a realistic comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
As an engineer, I deal with facts, and I try to stay away from fiction.
Mm-hmm.
See, in engineering, we have two things. We have a quantitative model, which is everything done with the numbers and facts, and then we have a qualitative model, which is where, okay, it feels like it should be blah. And humanistics is purely qualitative.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I guess I've done enough preaching, right?
No. This is actually you're saying a lot, but you're speaking in the language, what we would call actual facts. Supreme mathematics, for lack of a better word.
I'm speaking in engineering.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the language. It's engineering.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Preston. Got like a few minutes left, maybe like 10. What is the level of opposition you have faced? Have you, because I remember reading in the book, someone said when you went back a second time for the badge wasn't there, and they said, I don't know what you think you saw, but if you ever utter one word of it, you may be buried under the jail or something. Have you experienced any governmental opposition for you opening
Sure
your
I
mouth?
have.
Yeah.
Sure I have. They've attempted to kill me a number of times. They've tried to bury me as a nut. All you do is look on the internet. You'll see there's somebody out there trying to say Preston Nichols is crackers and cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done their best to keep me poor. Because they're afraid if I ever got any money behind me, I'd get dangerous to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very happy to have me retired up here, living on a pittance, just basically enough financial backing to make it through life.
Mm-hmm.
I have made millions of American dollars. I've lost millions of American dollars. I definitely believe, and this is qualitative, that somebody out there has been maneuvering me so I don't get any money in my hand to be able to really do anything. And you got to remember, this group we're talking of, the governmental group, the controllers, to them, money is power.
Mm-hmm.
If you have no money behind you, they're not concerned at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep me under $20,000 a year income. They're not worried about me.
Mm.
This is what they've been doing ever since I retired.
Mm.
I have had business successes, and then I believe I was maneuvered into losing the money.
Mm.
So yes, there's been opposition.
Mm-hmm.
No question there's been opposition.
Absolutely.
But also, they've learned their lesson with Dr. Jessup and the Philadelphia experiment. He was talking about the Philadelphia experiment, and the information wasn't going anywhere until he started to get more and more credibility, and they found him dead in Florida, gassing his own car with a vacuum cleaner hose from the exhaust pipe into the space in the car and killed him. Mm-hmm. When that happened, the whole Philadelphia experiment exploded onto the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Because now there was a dynamic point
mm-hmm.
that people were saying the government killed Dr. Jessup, Dr. Morris K. Jessup. And this immediately thrust the whole thing into the limelight. They learned their lesson, and they never wanted to do anything like that to me, because then they're afraid it would thrust the Montauk-Project into a back burner metaphysical world thing, into a bestseller.
Right.
You know, they learned their lesson in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So what they now do, if you become a security risk, such as we're discussing, discredit you, keep you poor, never allow you to get anywhere financially, and they literally don't do anything. If they sent me to jail for spilling, so-called secret government information, they'd be admitting that the Montauk-Project happened.
Right.
So the best thing they can do is just put people out there that will do the best job they can to discredit the Montauk-Project, and it will never really go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Makes total sense.
So much for that diatribe.
Mm-hmm. This makes total sense. This will be my last question to you. Are you familiar, and is there a connection to the Peter Moon wrote a book, I think with Joseph Matheny, called Ong's Hat? Are you familiar with that information?
Basically, what Peter has told me, that's what I'm familiar with. I have no personal direct information into this project Ong's Hat that supposedly took place in the middle of New Jersey.
Right, right. Okay.
I don't know that much about it.
All right. Well, you have any final words to the listeners? Any information, or even if you have any material that or anything that you want to give them, feel free to advertise.
Well, basically, at this point, up in Cairo, New York, which is 30 miles south of Albany, New York, I'm running musical meditation. People come up here, they use my equipment to meditate, and they believe they're getting results in our reality by meditating using what I'm calling the quantum well sound equipment.
Mm.
I am open to have people come up and use the equipment for whatever they want.
Okay.
I'm not going to make any claims for the equipment. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to heal even a hangnail. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's well documented in the medical field that listening to music and getting deep into the music has a very healing effect.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm marketing musical meditation using a very specialized sound equipment which uses what I call a quantum well in the vacuum tube that literally can put you inside the music. And we do have soft evidence that it also amplifies your mind, very similar to what the Montauk-Project did as a mind-amplifying system.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I use to do my work.
Wow. And how will people get a hold of you, Preston, for that?
Give me a call.
Okay.
The phone number is 518-622-9397. You can get it off the internet. I'm not hiding. I'm open to have visitors come up, come over to the place. I'd prefer you come over when there isn't snow on the ground.
Right.
This gets a little rugged when there's snow on the ground. But I am open and available to visitors, and we're looking for donations and stuff to further the research here. Remember, I'm researching on what can be done about the coming tribulations.
Absolutely.
On the technical, metaphysical level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I would definitely, first I want to say thank you again for coming on. We only had 2 minutes left on the show. I want to give you a call, and if we can actually schedule a part 2 and deal with what you foresee as an astrologer, I'm definitely interested in that aspect. We do a part 2 of what you foresee coming in the upcoming years.
Yeah, definitely, sure.
Yeah, definitely. Then we can go straight to the start.
And if you find yourself south of Albany, New York, give me a call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go on over.
Absolutely will. Absolutely will. All right. Thank you, Preston.
Well, the pleasure has been mine.
Likewise. Take care.
Okay.
All right.